Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Vera Tarman, and I am an addiction physician working out of Toronto, Canada. So welcome, and I hope you find something useful. So I've talked about dopamine and essentially how dopamine, this phenomenon of a dopamine, can explain the criteria and thus the full definition of addiction, which is basically when I am compelled to do something that is hurting me and I'm unable to stop. Basically the definition of addiction. And you can understand the whole phenomenon of addiction just by understanding this neurophysiology of neurobiology of dopamine. And I just want to say a little bit about withdrawal. So I was telling you about, you're in deficit mode of withdrawal, which is dopamine deficiency. Now, if I am expected to live my life in a reasonably contented manner with 100 dopamine, and I'm living with a minus 100, minus 200, maybe, who knows, even minus 800, I'm not living a happy life. But the good news is, which by the way is why post-acute withdrawal is so difficult. And how do you know you're in post-acute withdrawal? Well, depending on the drug, all of the drugs go to dopamine and behaviors, but each drug has its specific quality. The alcoholic, they're shakes and sweats in withdrawal. The cocaine, they're sleepy, they're not interested in anything. Crystal meth, fidgety and unable to sleep and have no interest in anything and basically crave. Everybody's craving. They want that dopamine that's going to get them to at least 0.0, at least 100. Forget about the 800. Just let me feel normal. Or the opiate person who's suffering from opiate withdrawal, who is on the toilet because they've got diarrhea and goosebumps and shakes and sweats. I mean, so each has its own particular feature, or I guess physical presentation, but it's always the craving for dopamine and that unhappiness and that wanting. So, but the good news is that as quickly as a person can become addicted, this is a natural adaptation to an abnormal environment, remember? Now, when you're in the minus 800, that's also an unnatural response. But now if you normalize your environment, no more drugs, you can wait. But it takes a while. It takes 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But those neuroreceptors that were downregulated, it's almost as if they're going to wake up and go, oh, where's that 800? Where's the 400? Where's the 200? Oh my God, where is it? There's none. They're going to actually start upregulating again, maybe growing back. I'm not sure how that process is. Are they growing back? Are they opening up? I don't know. But what we see happening is that there's an upregulation of neuroreceptors. And so that eventually in a process of 2, 3, 4 weeks, we get to what I like to say is a reset. It's like a getting back to square one. It's not exactly square one, but it's like getting back to square one. And so that is called post-acute withdrawal. And that often coincides with a treatment centers program of a month. You keep the person in for a month to give them that physiological, they don't have to do anything but just be alive and don't use. And this gradual process will happen. Hopefully not with devastating damage. And that's sometimes what I worry about with some of these drugs, like these ones like the 1,000, crystal meth and fentanyl, where, I think of it like scorched earth policy, like, a war, after a war where people burn everything so nobody can live there anymore. Who knows how much is repairable? I hope we have hope. We definitely have hope. But I don't know. Let's not get into the fears of the future here, but as drugs become more and more potent, I don't know what will happen to us as with our ability to retrieve ourselves. But for the most part, clinically, we see that people do come back, and that the initial period of months, that like the time that we keep the person locked up, a lot of it comes back. Like I'd say maybe 70–80%, certainly enough to go out there and not be devastated by, like I said, somebody's snarl at you, or something bad happens and then you fall apart in a puddle of tears. You're going to be able to withstand general emotional response again, maybe. And often we help people with medications in that context. So that's post-acute withdrawal. And sometimes that dopamine repair might take up to a year or two, like fully. And I often see that. I see people who, they're back on board in 3 to 6 months, something like that, but they're not really ready to go to school or fully back to work and be right on board again for another year or two. But eventually things come back, providing that they stay sober.